Yeah. Hi. I'm waiting to be connected back. There you guys go. So
Um,
Instagram does this thing where it clips off at an hour, but Willie, you were saying
I,
something key.
yeah, shit. Um,
Basically, the
but yeah,
first part.
so the first person, I feel like the first person should already be enough. Um,
Mhm.
I don't think in my research and studies of looking into this process, I don't think that you should go searching for another person in addition to having this person when this person isn't enough for you. I
Mhm.
don't think that that's, you need to. This is challenging. I feel like that one person you need to be in communication with and be able to say, look, this stuff isn't working for me, this stuff isn't working for me, and this stuff isn't working for me. And if these are things that are, and if these are things where you're saying like, yo, at this level, like I can't deal with that anymore. Like I can't deal with, certain things I have expectations for. These are things that I want. And being able to set those things down and have that person be like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna put in work on this. My intention is to be, better in that space. Or to be able to say, well, okay, if those things aren't working, then, then you can say, okay, you can start making this different choices, different roads you can go down. Because I think it's all about being able to have options and where you move to, and being able to move and say, oh, okay, well, look, I found somebody else that I'm really interested in. I'm really interested in you too. I found somebody else that I'm really interested in. They are into these things. This is some things that they're interested in do, but I still want to keep you too. So I think that can end up being a conversation. But for there to be clarity, I think it always is a necessity for there to end up being clarity. Because if you're saying, oh, this person is enough, and you didn't tell that person that there was some issues and areas,
Right.
then
Right.
when they then move on to the next person, or bring that and add that next person on, and now the first person is like, well, I don't know why you're not dealing with me in this way. I don't know why you're not communicating with me this way, or I don't know why there seems like there's some friction or some things that are left unsaid, because there are some things that are left unsaid.
Mhm.
Doing it with number two
Can I type in?
and number three, yeah.
I think because like so many of us are just taught that monogamy is how it goes. I think a lot of times, like I said before, our partner will communicate at some point whatever it is that they feel that they need, and we decided whether it was a priority or not.
Mm.
And we feel like you should just accept me how I am, giving you what I give you at the level at which I give it to you. You love me. This is who I am. I
Mhm.
I hear a lot of people give the "this is who I am" speech, and if this is who you are means you will not expand for me, you cannot accommodate me in this type of way, then I think it'll always be a little rift, especially if you're saying this is how I am. I want to meet I want to meet certain needs you have, but I don't want you to get it from nowhere else, those other needs from anywhere else. I can see you saying, I want you to try to um, connect with me in a deeper way. I can see you saying, I want you to tap into yourself and see how you can fulfill yourself in a deeper way. But when it's coming down to, there's things you've been requesting of me that I simply just don't want to give you. I feel like you should be satisfied at
Mm.
this point and not get it any elsewhere. I think it's unfair. And I
Mhm.
also think it's unfair in the reverse if the person is saying, I don't, feel uncomfortable with you're meeting your needs outside of me. Um, and you insist upon that anyway. And that's why I said either you compromise or you leave. And when you compromise, you shouldn't be like compromising your core self.
Mm. Can I ask you a question with that? Because I agree with what you're saying about both of you said about communicating what the needs are and they're not being met. But if
Mhm.
they're not being met, then they compromise and say, okay, bring someone else on. It's kind of like you're building on a faulty foundation. So it's going to be destined to like fail when you bring someone else on if you haven't figured out with the other person.
Mhm.
Because
I can see that.
if they can't fulfill your needs and they're not willing to even try or grow, right, then you should, in that case, leave. Because if you add on another person, then like the change still isn't going to happen. It's just going to be more chaos.
Well, yeah, for the most part, I would say, yeah. The only way it wouldn't go down that way is if they both were secure with what they brought to the table and what they didn't bring to the table. Yeah. Like the other chick, you know, she's down with cooking 5 days a week and she likes anal. I don't. I'm Gucci with her liking that. I don't feel inadequate that I don't like that, and I'm glad that you're getting.
What you're saying is so funny, but it reminds me of what Kevin Hart's ex-wife, Tori Hart, just said.
What'd she say?
With the statement recently, maybe a few weeks ago, or a month ago, and she was like, basically, she co-signed side chicks. Because she basically made a similar comment.
They do stuff you don't want to do.
I don't want to be in the kitchen cooking every day. I don't want to do this, right? I might not want to have to step. But now in a situation like her, you have her making a comment about co-signing side chicks, but Kevin Hart just left her for someone who he started a relationship with when they were together. So what do you say to that? Like, how do you not get jaded by that situation and still go on to promote comments like that if you haven't figured it out?
I mean, it's all really messy. And Kevin Hart's ex-wife is operating for a paradigm of main pieces and side chicks. Mm-hmm.
Which is not a polyamory.
Which is not. It's like ratchet polyamory. Yeah. When you accept it and you know what's happening, it's like ratchet polyamory. And okay, so my belief is that there's a lot of celebrity men who are in probably polygamous relationships because niggas' egos be too big to let their wife have someone else too. So I feel like a lot of them are in polygamous relationships where the wives know that they have others, and they've accepted the fact that they have others. But a lot of times, they will call the main ends up getting still disrespected in whichever way she feels that is, or she is not getting the attention she wants. And so allowing you to have the extra woman was not supposed to eliminate her position or her attention in life. It was just supposed to satisfy you in every way you needed to be satisfied, not decrease what she got. And so I think there is a lot of things that we don't want to do. And so we be like, okay, well, that other person can do it for you. But when the other person you feel takes your place, that's usually what becomes a problem. And Kevin Hart's new wife did take her place. But then someone else took the side piece place. We saw, so.
Right. So where does it end,
Yeah, where does it end? Because I think it's a cycle when people won't speak it out loud of what they're willing to deal with, what they're willing to tolerate, and what they want out of the situation.
Yeah, I feel like to add to that, like he wasn't living in a polyamory thought process. It didn't seem like he's in any way educated in that thought process. I think it's more so what we all have been just naturally
sneak, don't get caught.
Yeah, don't get caught and apologize, and then always have somebody on the side because you never know what's going to happen with the first one. So that end up being the thought process, but then that all can end up being eliminated if we were educating each other on these perspectives and looking at each other as a equal partner in our relationships and being able to have the tough conversations about, I'm not liking this, what you're doing. I'm not liking that, what you're doing. I would like to have more, add more. Because if you were
partners, that's key though.
Say it again.
What you said about equal partners, I want to touch on that a bit. Because say you bring someone else into a relationship, right? But they're only there part-time. Like you guys aren't all three living together. They come in as they want or not as they want, but you know what I mean? They're there sometimes. They're not there every day with you guys, raising the family, cooking meals. What do you say to that? I mean, because at that point, one person, will they feel like they're doing more, or they're, you know, putting in more work, and how could you look at that other person as an equal partner then?
I think that's where you negotiate.
Yeah, I think there's negotiation that's definitely involved. That's definitely
Like, she gonna be here. She gotta cook 3 times.
I think there's definitely communication that ends up being involved with that. But that's why I lean more on the ideology of the women being the ones that control the ebb and flow of that portion of the relationship. Because the idea of you saying, when you said, when will it end? You know, like I want more, and I want more, but I want more, and I want more. Like, when will that process ever end? And I think it's easier when I'm able to say to my wife, like, oh baby, I'm looking for another woman, and she's like, but you ain't did this yet, and this ain't done, and how we gonna have another woman if we don't got this? How could you know? So you end up getting these check marks, but there's like check marks of like, damn, I got checked. But then it's also like a checklist, like, if I take care of this, and I take care of this, and I take care of this, then maybe we can have a conversation. Then that ends up controlling it.
My cousin chimed in and she said,
okay.
You have to set the standards for what you need out of it as well, so you don't get left behind.
Yeah.
And that's true. And that really just takes for people to know what they want. And so I love the idea of another woman to share responsibility. That shit sound Gucci to me. It's just where emotions and feelings and miscommunication comes in that concerned me.
And then other people's belief systems around that too, because the idea of a woman or her being able to say, oh, I think that's really great, you know, for women to, you know, be able to help each other and do all that. And then the man is like, yeah, but you got to submit to me and not be, you know, you better not say nothing. It ends up being this whole ugly side to it. Like, what she said sound beautiful, but then once they come into the house, then they.
And then another question is too, guys. I know you said you have this idea of another woman helping you. Are you guys still there? I think the reception's a little bad.
Yeah,
I think it went out, but we're here now.
Okay, that you would love to have another woman there to help. But have you ever considered tapping your partner? Like, can you help me with this? Like, how about we divide the cooking? You know what I mean? I know that only speaks to part of what you said, but how do you start to share those responsibilities there?
Can I answer?
You want to answer? Can I answer first?
No. I was going to answer.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Be honest.
Can you hear us? Are we still there?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Everything's good?
Yeah, you guys are
okay.
spinning,
So to answer that question, honestly, I don't know. We can't check that.
Your picture's frozen, but we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
keep talking.
Dang, but they can't see me. Okay. Oh, there you go, B.
Do you want to go downstairs?
Yeah, let's go downstairs. I'm a talking move though.
Okay.
So I'm not. She's asked those things like, oh, okay. I don't want to. She's recently what we just got done communicating, or she just got done communicating with me, was that she doesn't want to be expected to be the housewife. That was a clear communication that she wanted me to make. She wanted to make sure that I was doing my part in the space and being involved in stuff as well. Because now, like, our children, because I've worked and she's went to school and stayed at home and stuff like that. And because of that, our children expect her to do everything, and so they'll like go past me and go to her, or when they won't say anything to me.
That's some bullshit.
Turn that light on so we can be seen better. I'll be sitting there like doing some work on the computer or something like that, and they won't say anything to me. Everything will be fine. Everything's all good. And then as soon as she comes downstairs, they'll be like, oh, I want this and I want that. Could you give me this? Can you give me that? And she's like, why you didn't talk to this man right here? You know, and then the cleaning aspects as well. So there was our daughter. Our daughter will just clean up, just start cleaning up. But my sons won't start cleaning up. They'll wait and then have to tell them to go.
Because they're mirroring.
Yeah.
the
So this
parent
is
that they
yeah.
see cleaning, and my daughter is mirroring mommy who
Mm.
sleeps,
Right.
who washes dishes.
Right.
So she's doing
So I'm normally, and I'm not the PlayStation sitting there watching. I don't want nobody to get the wrong idea. I'm not sitting up playing no PlayStations or watching Netflix or who's with the Bachelor Wives or somebody. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually working. I'm on my computer. I'm putting in work. I got clients and doing all that. So it's a lot of the time. Most of the time it's because I'm either out working or I'm in the house working. And so I'm not necessarily the one putting in the work on the actual. They are still frozen, is what she said.
Yeah. So
Okay, one second.
camera around. And
It's not plugged in though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
In-
battery.
Yeah, because we can see you, everything moving, we moving.
Can you still hear us?
we can hear you guys. Try flip. There's an icon at the bottom to flip around your screen. Try doing that and then flipping it back around and see if that maybe works.
Can you see us now?
No, you guys are still frozen.
Okay.
Well, let us go out and then try to request in. How about that?
Okay. So they're gonna join us back in a moment, guys. Thank you all for being part of the conversation. Okay. So they're joining back now. There you guys go. But we can't hear you. The sound is gone, but you guys are back visually. I think if you guys have an iPhone, is it plugged into the jack where the mic is? No. Okay. Thank you guys for being here through us trying to figure this part out to get them back on. So thank you guys too for your questions. I saw there's a lot that came in that I want to talk about once they join back into the conversation. Hey guys. No, the sound's still gone. No. No, you guys are still missing. Okay. So how about I try to end the live and then see, I guess the man doesn't want us to talk about this. Use headphones maybe? Okay.
No.
There you guys, there you're back.
Can you hear us?
Oh, yeah, we're back.
Okay.
I think it was a charger.
Try to plug it up while we're in the conversation. See what happens.
I don't
Because
know.
you don't want it to die out.
We touched on so many great points. I don't want to get into it again and then the phone dies, but someone asked, we have two questions.
Okay.
Hopefully we can
Can you hear?
before the phone out again.
Can you hear us?
If someone that is constantly cheating considered a closet polyamorous?
Yeah, for sure.
Nah, I don't know.
I think so. Closet? That's like being closeted gay.
I mean, it depends because when people take the definition of polyamory, like how what's the show on Netflix?
Oh, she's gotta have it.
She's got to have it. Like people end up having these perverted versions of polyamory, And
So
so the
yeah, it's
possibility
toxic.
is that, yes, there's a possibility that they are closet polyamorous. There's a possibility
Mm-hmm.
that they're just toxic individuals themselves.
How do you know the difference between the two for the women that are with the men?
Well, a polyamorous individual is a person that's honest about their situation and the things that they want to be, the type of relationship they want to have. One to be, we have a friend of ours that says that they are being 100% themselves and being honest with themselves, and so being able to be in a space where you're able to be honest with yourself and honest with others to avoid that pain, that ends up being the relationship within the polyamory dynamic. So that thought process for me, when you say, "Oh, a person that's cheating behind
Mm-hmm.
this woman's back," it's that one, they've never gotten introduced to polyamory, and they just need to be educated to learn how not to hurt in order to get what they want. And then two, I feel like those people can even still take that into their relationship, their polyamorous relationship, and have two women, and then still be cheating. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Not one, either one.
So it doesn't fix the problem.
Say it again.
So it doesn't fix the problem if the individual has a
if,
deeper
if they have a
issue.
deeper issue. So that's something that it's really this whole thing around relationships is so powerful because we all are so eager to thrust ourselves into one,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not willing to thrust ourselves into a space where we're getting to know ourselves, where we're having a relationship with ourselves, and that ends up affecting us on a totally different level once we start getting introduced to things or being put in positions to where we have to then identify ourselves through action. And that ends up being the challenge that I feel like a lot of people that I feel like a lot of people end up having, but I would say specifically from I'm a male, that a lot of men that we end up having is that we're not diving into all of the other shit that we have to be able to come out and be able to be a healing individual versus a hurtful individual.
I think there's also two things. I think that men, talking about men, would be surprised at how many women would be down for that, down for being told the truth versus being lied to, down for having the option to opt into a polyamorous relationship versus being tricked into one. What was the other thing that I wanted to say? The other thing is that in terms of like being closeted polyamorous is also the flip side of just people being unaccepting to it. And I think you have to be willing to deal with the ridicule. Some people, polyamorous people, like they respond to transgender people, like they respond to people who are homosexuals. They frown upon it. However, they understand people who cheat. Like that's a concept.
Okay, so with that being said, because you're touching on something deep, right? What you just said, it sounds simple, but it's profound. It's true. I mean, people don't think about that. Even on the flip side of what you said, do you ever get a scenario where another woman knows that you guys have a polyamorous relationship at times, if you choose so? Do you ever feel like like a woman who may have a specific intention may try to come at Willie in a more flirtatious way, like she can almost like maneuver herself into the relationship and remove you? Because I know, I mean, it's just a question that pops into my mind.
Yeah, I think that ends
That's
up.
a worry. That's a concern. Definitely.
I think, but I still think that's why I would, at this point in my life, I would lean on. I would have to filter through my wife. Like, we always have this. We have this like running joke that we've had for a while, where like my parents or my mom or something like that, she's real open talking about different things and stuff, and she'd be like, "Oh, you better watch out, them old women, they might get at you or something like that. You better be careful." And then I'll be like, "Well, I just have to ask my wife," like, so, and then it'll be, we laugh about it and stuff. But in reality, if the man then in that type of scenario, if the man then was like, yo, you know what I'm saying, I appreciate that I appreciate me and feeling me in a certain way, let me introduce you to my wife. If you want to have that conversation with me, then you have to have that conversation with her.
Yeah.
And that in order for you to even, step into my space or into our home or, into any of those places with her being involved in that scenario, then she has to be involved in this conversation. Like the flirting and stuff is cool, but once I'm able to identify it, then I need to have that. Then the conversation needs to be directed to her to make sure that she knows that she is the matriarch or the final say so in whether this moves forward or not.
Yeah.
And
There's no is
Shalom.
another man off.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is another man
Off limits? I mean, and so I don't know if he's on. One of my homies / mentors was watching, but I really think that most men who consider themselves alpha men, who consider themselves like masculine men, I don't, because of how masculinity and is taught, is socialized, and I won't call it toxic masculinity, because that's not what I mean, but just the way masculinity is passed down. I think that most men egos will not allow another man into the relationship. Like, there are men that try, but they try. They try.
Yeah.
And there are women who try and fail, but the way women are socialized, we are socialized just like men are socialized to believe that they need more than one woman, or should be allowed, or are equipped or even wired to like procreate with multiple women. Like, whatever the stance is, they are socialized to believe that. And on the flip side, women are also socialized to believe that men, either you allow your man or your man is going to eventually do it. Like, and whether you believe that's a false or true statement, I'm just saying that's the way we are socialized. And so, because men are not, they fundamentally fill out the core that is it's an assault to their manhood to allow another man into the relationship. And so I just feel like it can be like primal or primitive, or like wired down to like the way men are created, but I think it's more wired to the way men are socialized. And I just want to go back to what he said about the woman coming like through me. My fear, it's not an issue, it's a fear. My fear is that I'll choose wrong. Say I choose wrong. I think she's legit. I think she's amazing. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I choose wrong. And now I have to deal, or I have to undo another person. And once another person is in, he can say what he wants to say. She's not going to be out just because I whoosh my wand. Once she's
no, that's a whole nother level. Yeah, that's a whole nother level.
Right? Because now, because we're talking polyamory, and it's you're supposed to care about this other human being. So to unwind a relationship is not going to be easy peasy. You know? It's not. And so that's my fear about me making the decision. I don't stand by my decision anymore. And now it's like, well, you made it. So now I got to be careful with it. You know what I'm saying? I can't just be all willy-nilly with it.
And
so many good things. There's so many things I want to go back and grab and just talk about for a moment.
If I can touch on Shalom's question. I think it's because a woman said it, so it was cool. But I want to give another stop to that perspective.
You're gonna say the same thing in a different way.
I am probably gonna say the same thing in a different way.
You're gonna be like, my masculine won't allow me because I can't trust niggas with my women.
But it's a good perspective to have. It's a good perspective to hear from a male.
So my perspective is this, right? Now, when women, single women, if you hear about single
Mm-hmm.
women's journey to finding a good man, right? Or just not. That process is like, there are so many men that are not capable of dealing with one woman. That thing is an issue. I mean, that is an issue in itself, and because there's not the everybody didn't go through PMG, and everybody didn't, aren't understanding how to master themselves, or not understanding but working on that process, or trying to be in alignment with their mental emotional capacity, and really searching on what that is for them. That's an issue. I feel like, and then on another level, I feel like, well, with that, because there's a lot of toxic behavior in that space, that then now I'm sitting with my wife, and now she's crying or depressed or stressed out because some motherfucker just did some stupid shit. Because it's not our relationship. It's not like, oh yeah, come in here and watch football, and what I'm saying, we're gonna kick it. And,
Yeah.
I couldn't have that. I couldn't have that type of relationship on many levels, on all the ego levels, all of them.
Right. That's what I was.
Don't just glaze across.
No. All the ego levels of why, but you know what I'm saying. But then also there's just this fundamental thought process that I have around the idea of, like, let's say I did have multiple women, and then and then Tiara was like, oh well, I want to bring a man in. If there's another man in the space, from me being the alpha male, if there's a male in the space, either you're going to be leading me or I'm going to be leading you. And that is where there's going to end up being an issue, because I believe
Same with women though.
I can't break down that psyche.
Nah, it's a slightly different dynamic.
But I think the thought process is that I believe that every man that thinks about getting a woman has an agenda or a vision for the relationship of him and that woman. So can it not be a democracy?
It's definitely democracy, but what he's speaking to is the ego of a male.
Yeah,
that ego is
have the capacity to work together, figure it out, but two men are gonna go at each other's heads if they don't agree with something.
If it's not in alignment, like we'll sink the boat before one of us sails the boat. Now don't get me wrong, in that there are not other people that are doing this. There are worlds of people that it's the girl and her boyfriends, and they all get along. But in all of the cases, not all of them, I can't say that. In the cases that I have seen, like they have the TV shows, or the people are talking about it on on YouTube, or different individuals, like we're dating her together.
They'll be more feminine.
One of the men.
Oh no, I think you guys are gone again. Are you guys still there? I think we might have lost them. I know they mentioned that their battery was low. We touching on some great points, so hopefully they can get their reception back on. I saw that she just left the conversation. But if not, if I can't get them back on tonight, they touched on so many amazing points and so many things for us to consider, or just think about, that they expanded upon from both perspectives. I know we're going on literally over a 2-hour call, so I thank you guys all who have been on the conversation with In the Bed with V, and I thank Tiara and Willie for both joining and sharing their most intimate truths and stories. And I appreciate you guys all listening in. And hopefully you guys tune back in and recap what we talked about before it disappears tomorrow, and share it with people that may be interested in it. And I hope you guys all have a good night.